Hey there, Javalock here, and I wanted to take this time to talk to you guys about the alignments. Alignments will be a major factor to consider when developing and role-playing your D&D character. However, I feel like a lot of players have a sizable misunderstanding of the alignments. Even players who know about them by definition will often argue or misinterpret what they mean in action. I'm sure a lot of players have had moments where their GMs or the party has questioned their alignment or denied them of certain actions based on their alignment. All too often, alignments feel like an obstruction instead of a boon, and that, my friends, is what I'm here to remedy. With all that being said, please sit down, grab a cup of coffee, or tea if that's what you're into, and let's start the conversation. We're going to talk about the alignments. So first off, let's ask, what are the alignments? In the game world, an alignment can be found in any creature or object that has its own sentience and a high enough intelligence. As a character, alignments will form guidelines, morals, and attitudes that a creature chooses to live by. As a player, the alignments are tools you can use for developing your character's identity. Alignments aid in the role-playing aspect of the game. They will also help you fit your character in the game world proper. With all that being said, where does all this alignment confusion come from? A big part of the problem with alignments is the contradiction between what they are and how they're used. To put it generally, your alignment offers two basic but essential elements of your character. One, the general outlook your character has towards the world, and two, how your character relates to the world. This seems pretty simple, right? So where do things get troubling? A big issue is that players, including GM, your party, and yourself, will often mistake alignments for personality. This is troubling because it ignores all the nuance that comes with your characters. Further, people tend to think of alignments for the purpose of ruling a character's action instead of a guideline for your character's action. Now, I want to spend a couple of minutes telling you about how I define and view alignments. Traditionally, alignments fall under three main domains: lawful, neutral, and chaotic. Each of these domains contain three branches: good, evil, and neutral, again for some reason. Alignments are then categorized by a combination of their domain and branch. So most people will report their alignments as lawful good, neutral good, chaotic good, lawful neutral, true neutral, chaotic neutral, lawful evil, neutral evil, and chaotic evil. I like to call this the alignment matrix, but most people will simply refer to this as the alignments. Alright, let's break this alignment matrix piece by piece. I'm going to start by talking about the domains, and I'll save the rest of the pieces for future conversation. As I said earlier, the three domains are lawful, neutral, and chaotic. Whenever I explain these domains, I like to tell people to visualize a piece of paper. This paper is evenly split between the colors red and blue. Each color represents a mixture of different values and morals. A big misconception that I want to eliminate is that these values do not have to be in opposition with one another. All that's really required is that they're different. Now, someone who is lawful will draw a solid line dividing those two colors. They would then place themselves on either side of that line. The solid line prevents them from crossing over to the other side. Someone who is neutral will draw a dashed line dividing the two colors. While they can see the difference between the colors, they can freely place themselves on either side of the paper. Someone who is chaotic wouldn't place any kind of line, but would instead have a region of that paper being purple, representing the two colors meeting and blending together to a certain extent. The chaotic character would then place themselves in this blended region. Lawful characters believe in the value of tradition, truth, and order. Aspects of the lawful character will include keeping their word, representing authority, and wanting to establish and follow rules. They will either want to enforce their ways onto others or strongly protect their ideologies from being corrupted by the outside influences. Can a lawful character be persuaded to go against their values? Yes, absolutely. But unlike the other two domains, a lawful character will absolutely hate doing so. Lawful characters are known to be morally robust, and in a narrative sense, they tend to be flat characters. That's not to say they're boring, but what it means is that they're heavily resisted to change. Someone who follows the domain of neutrality has a standard level of respect for authority, but can also have an affinity towards rebellion. They can be honest, but tempted to turn to deception. Vice versa, they can be accustomed to lawlessness, but willing to follow authority. Neutral characters are known to be morally indifferent. I believe a big misconception with neutral characters is that people tend to believe them to be the median of the alignment scale. That is to say, people believe that they are just as lawful as they are chaotic, or just as bad as they are good. But that's not really the case. As we look back on our paper analogy, recall that neutral characters create a dashed line, which means that neutral characters are able to freely move between either sides of the paper. How are they able to do that, you might ask? They do that because a neutral character lacks any kind of devotion to either side. In fact, they consciously avoid such commitments. To neutral characters, values and morals play a bystander role rather than a driving force. Neutral characters will often be driven by the objective or task at hand rather than their own ideologies or values. And last but not least, let's talk about the chaotic character. Chaotic characters tend to value personal freedoms, desires, and intuition. Chaotic characters are typically against the authority of others and would rather have their own conscience dictate their actions. Chaotic characters value individuality, but most importantly, their own individuality. These characters can be classified as morally flexible, as they value most what they want as opposed to what others need of them. Now, that's not to say these characters are selfish. In fact, many popular heroes in fiction will fall under the chaotic umbrella in some form or fashion. This is because chaotic characters represent change and are usually proactively disrupting the status quo. A big misconception with chaotic characters deal with them being associated with evil. Now, I think a lot of this has to do partly with the namesake and partly with the attitude that some chaotic characters tend to have. Chaotic characters are popular because they are morally uninhibited by the influences of the outside world. They tend to follow what they want to do rather than what people think they should do. If we refer to our artistic example, a chaotic character will create an entirely new region on the paper, that being purple in color. The original colors red and blue represent values and morals of the outside world, while the region the chaotic character resides in can pull certain values from either side of the paper and actively exclude other values from that same source. And those are the 3 alignment domains, explained by yours truly. I've always believed that alignments should be used in an exploratory manner as opposed to an explanatory. You shouldn't be asking, can my character do this because of their alignment? But instead ask, how does my character feel about this based on their alignment? Are they motivated to complete this task? Or are they disgusted by the very idea of it? Remember, alignments are not the same as a personality. Your character isn't just chaotic neutral. They can be a studious but hot-tempered elf whose method of spellcasting is unorthodox but effective. I have a lot more to say about this subject, but I think I've rambled on enough. I can't really say how many of these alignment discussions I have planned, but I definitely want to unpack more on this topic. But with all that being said, no great conversation is one-sided. So please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And like always, if you guys want to add more to the conversation or tell me about aspects of the alignment you want me to talk about, just let me know in the comments. Alright friends, live with strength and function. Peace out.